So good morning, everyone. It's an incredible honor to be here with the whole team from Unity, our two founders, Joachim, Ante, and David Helgason, and 1,000 of you representing our platform partners, AAA developers, indie developers, the people we love that build the games we love. Now, all of you built all of that. Some of the most beautiful games that we've ever seen and could ever have imagined, and we're very proud of. So first, congratulations for all of you to create such amazing games. And today, what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about Unity, and I'm going to start with what remains the same, what never changes at Unity. And that is our principles. And the first of these principles is democratization. Unity, from its very beginning, has been about democratization, putting the tools of development in the hands of developers globally, everywhere, anywhere, whether they can afford it or not. We really mean it. It's very important to us. We think we're leading a mission, something that's going to change the world. The second core principle at Unity is we solve hard problems. Deep down, we're an engineering company. We solve hard engineering problems. And building a beautiful game is hard. Getting that game to work on multiple platforms is hard. Making it easy to do is incredibly hard. Those are the kinds of problems we like to focus on as a company. And the third problem that we're focusing on, in something relatively new to Unity, recognizes the fact that after you've built those great games, after you've toiled days and nights to create something you think is beautiful and wonderful and potentially chart-topping, you need to find an audience. You need to get that game monetized. I've said before, but developers probably leave 50 to 70 cents on the potential dollar off the table. They're not getting the revenue they need. They're not getting the audience we need. And we're dedicating ourselves to help solve this next third problem, this next opportunity for you, and that's here to help you try to enable your success as a business. Now, as we think about Unity, I'd like now to concentrate a little bit on what's different, what's changing, given that I've just emphasized what remains the same and always will. Now, I'm going to do this now in light of our three core principles, and I'm going to talk to you about what's different, say, from last year to this, and as we go forward. So first off, democratization. I think a lot of you probably noticed with Unity 5.0 that we introduced at GDC that we changed our pricing model. What we did with Personal Edition and Pro on Unity 5 was, for the first time ever, take the full professional suite, all of that capability, and put it in the hands of the developer. The developer doesn't even pay us anything. What is the point here? Is that we want the developer around the world to feel like they're on the same platform as a AAA developer. They can aspire to make the most achingly beautiful game. You can aspire to make the most successful game or a highly rated game. That's the point, whether you've got the resources or not. We fundamentally believe in democratization, which is another reason why we now provide Unity 5 in Personal Edition, essentially an education version, for students worldwide free of charge. We are trying to essentially turn the world into a world of creators. We think that is exactly where it needs to go, and that's what we're pushing. Now, the second thing that we're changing, or we're putting more emphasis on, is solving hard problems. And I'm going to dwell on this for a few minutes. With Unity 5.0, we introduced physical-based rendering, global illumination, and a number of new technologies to enable you to build more beautiful games than ever before. So I think it's fair to say, and if you'd thought about Unity in years past, you could make a very good game. But if you were aspiring to be the most beautiful game you've ever imagined, that might not have been Unity. Well, I can tell you, with what we've done with 5.0, the resources, the recruiting, the elevation of great people that are already in the company, the resources are there. There doesn't need to be a footnote. With Unity, you can build a game that's this good. You can build it as beautiful as you can imagine it. The tools are there. And I can't emphasize enough how important that is to us. Now, if you think about it, what we're enabling you to do is build beautiful games. Look at some of these examples. I used the word, achingly beautiful a minute ago. Doesn't that conjure in your mind Ori and the Blind Forest? Or how about great design with Monument Valley? I mean, who wouldn't be proud of those games? Who couldn't imagine those games reaching the top in terms of reputation just the way they have? And there's many more. And if what your ambition is to be critically acclaimed, to build a game that the critics around the world rate as a 9 out of 10. And by the way, 9 out of 10 or a 90 rated game is less than 1/10 of 1% of the games out there. That's where all these games are. Look at Pillars of Eternity, or Kerbal, frankly, when we're going to see a little bit later from the folks that bring you City Skylines. These are amazing games, and they're rated the way they are for a good reason. They've crafted incredible experiences. And then lastly, some of you, maybe not all of you, but some of you have the aspiration to do well financially, huge success. It wasn't that long ago, I was reading stories, I'd say, just around the time of GDC. Well, what the press was saying was, the dream is over. No one will enter the top 5 or the top 10, or the top 50 even, unless they've got Fort Knox behind them, a bankroll of biblical proportions. Well, there's 2 games that entered the top 5 in the last week, and they're indies that have built these games. Fallout Shelter, now they do have a major publisher behind them, but they entered the top 5. How long has it been since somebody's done that? Or if you look at Chronoblade here, they entered the top 5 in Korea. And by the way, it's a little bit like, that's the other half of the world, right? That's a huge, huge market. Entering the top 5 in Korea is no mean feat. So what we're proving is based on Unity or built on Unity. It can be beautiful, it can be highly acclaimed, and you can aspire to be the very top of the charts. Now, another aspect, and I'm going to talk about this and one more, but it's really about solving hard problems, is multi-platform. Now at GDC, we announced that there would be 21 platforms, or there are 21 platforms that we support. That is still true. And I think, once again, you could always count on Unity to get to the platforms that are most popular. We're smart. We look at the marketplace and figure out a lot of people are buying iPhones. We're right there with iOS, and ditto with others. But it wasn't always our ambition to be at the leading or bleeding edge. But we are pushing it hard. We're making the investments in R&D. And think about VR and AR, where we are, in fact, supporting the leading and bleeding edge. You can't find a VR platform, even VR platforms where they've got their own engine, where the majority of the content is not built on Unity. And there's good reason for that. We've engineered in the best systems for creating content for VR, and we're making more investments. And in fact, there's a bunch of folks here that have joined us in the VR space from other parts of Unity because we are putting an investment there. So a second thing that's changed, aside from trying to help you build the most beautiful products you can imagine, is we're pushing the platform leading edge so you can be out there in the front, not waiting for somebody to lead the way for you. Now, the last point that I'm going to make, and it's kind of a weird one to make, about solving hard problems, is there's a problem inside of Unity. We know that we innovate at such a rate. There's so much content coming from us, so many new features, that sometimes bugs get, maybe there's one too many out there, or a couple hundred too many. And you're going to hear from Thomas Peterson later, our QA director, and we're making a very heavy investment on quality. We're going to bring bugs down to a tamable few, not a math. And that's an investment that we're making because we understand that's what you need to realize your dreams. So we're investing heavily in quality. So if, in terms of the, solving hard problems, we're making it beautiful, we're bringing you the leading edge of platforms, we're bringing you quality. The last thing that we've talked about, and this is yet another change, relates to enabling your success. Last year, we merged with a couple of small companies, Amplifier actually not so small, and Playnomics on the analytics side. Today, we're going to show you what that means. We're bringing you ad solutions, and we're bringing you analytics solutions that will help you monetize your products better than ever before, and ultimately discover an audience, and a paying audience you've never had before. We think that's essential. The metaphor David Helgason used a year and a half ago at Unite is you climb the first mountain, building that amazing game, only to see a taller mountain in the future. The mountain of attracting a user and getting monetization. And we're here absolutely, without doubt, to help you solve that problem. We are your partner, and we're bringing you those tools. Now, what I'm going to do now is introduce you to someone that I think you know, Rob Pardo. And Rob's going to be in video because he's off in Japan meeting with some of our customers today. But Rob's got a good resume for all of this. Creative director at Blizzard, worked on things like StarCraft, and overall creative lead for World of Warcraft, and supervision for some of their very famous and incredible mobile games like Hearthstone. So it's impressive, his background. He's got a lot to say, and I'm going to let him say it.
Hi everyone, it's so great to be here in Amsterdam at Unite with you guys. Well, virtually at least. I've been starting the Unity tour and visiting other game developers, and I gotta tell you, it's super exciting already. One of the things that I really miss about being at Blizzard is being able to talk about games. Games that we're making or games that they're playing. And I'm sure that's exactly why most of you are here in Amsterdam today. We are entering a new golden age for game development. More than ever before, we're able to work directly for our players. We're able to fund our games through companies like Kickstarter. We're able to directly publish our games to the players through Steam, the App Store, or Google. And most importantly, at least to you guys, technology has allowed us to be able to make games with smaller and smaller teams through technology like Unity. And the power of small teams is really important because it allows you to be focused entirely on the gameplay and what the players really want. The ultimate result of all this freedom is an amazing new diversity in gameplay and innovation within the game industry. As a player, you can go to an app store and you can find a game of any session length or of any genre type that you're looking for. Opportunity is everywhere. The PC finally isn't dying anymore, but flourishing. Mobile devices are allowing you to put games in the hands of billions of players. And most recently, now you're seeing AR and VR technologies come online, which are going to allow us to make the most immersive experiences ever. This is where we really need to push ourselves. We need to take advantage of the opportunities that are before us. With all the time-consuming technical tasks being taken care of behind the scenes, it will really allow you, more than ever before, to create the best experiences ever. But the thing that I love the most about the games industry is the spirit of collaboration. More than I think any other entertainment industries, we want to make each other better because we want better and better games and more experiences to play. So please, while you guys are here at Unite, make sure to take advantage of the fact that you're surrounded by all these amazing game developers that not only want to help you make games better, but want your advice and want to know how they can improve their gameplay. The only thing that I wish is that I could be there with you guys this week.
So with that, I'd like to ask Jussi Laakkonen to come on stage. Jussi, the founder of Amplifier, the head of our Unity Ads business, is going to show you the way on advertising. Thanks, Jussi. Come on up.
Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. My name is Jussi Laakkonen, and I'm super proud to be here. About a year ago, Unity acquired my startup, Amplifier, and I want to bring you back 3 years. 3 years ago, I was sitting on that corner there at Unite Europe, 2012. It was the first time at the Unite conference, and I was watching David, Nicholas, and Joachim, and other Unity people on stage talking about what they're building, and I was enamored. It was a fantastic experience, and it's quite the thrill to go from 3 years on the back of the row to the front of the audience. So it's a thrill to be here. So glad that we had the opportunity. So what was really awesome about also that first experience, and same as already happened today here at Unite, is meet with all of you, to talk to you about the games you're working on, play them, see the passion you have for your games, and see how you're pushing the creative boundaries forward. And that's what we are about at Unity, to enable you to create great experiences. At the same time, I hear from many of you is that it's challenging to find your own business if you're self-publishing or you're indie. And what we really try to do at Unity now is to help you find financial success to go along with your creative success. And this is really important, especially in mobile, because the sobering fact is that 97% of the audience doesn't pay for mobile games. They don't buy in-app purchases, they don't pay for paid games, and as an industry, the solution we've come up for this is advertising. And now, advertising is pretty ubiquitous, but it doesn't mean it's always great. I'm sure all of you have had experiences in mobile games where an ad pops up, and you're like, get out of here, like, where's the X button? I want to get back to playing the game. And to me, that's been an opportunity with what is today called Unity Ads. That is an opportunity to redesign advertising, to design it to be something that really natively fits into games. And I believe that's going to be great when they first and foremost respect the user. You design the game for the user, why would the ads be any different? So what I believe is great advertising is something that the user actually chooses to engage with. Secondly, I believe great advertising is relevant, something I care about. If it's about something that I'm not interested in, why would I be engaging with that? Thirdly, and this is super important for you as a creative person, ads should be natively integrated beautifully into your game. They shouldn't be something that's slapped on top of your game. They should be part of your experience. And finally, the reason why people use advertising is not because ads are beautiful. They're there to help you monetize and to fund your next game. And this is what we are passionate about at Unity Ads. We deliver opt-in video advertising, ads that people choose to watch by trading 15 seconds of their time for a virtual item reward they want in your game. Unity Ads delivers relevant advertising because we focus on promoting games like the ones you make. The ads from Unity Ads are always natively integrated in your game because you design where and when and how you present it. And finally, the reason why Unity Ads has been performing really well over the last 24 months and has grown super fast is that we've been able to partner with many of you and deliver really high results that enable you to continue developing those great games. So one of the publishers we have the privilege to working with is a 20-person startup out of Finland called Seriously. Seriously has offices in Helsinki as well as in Los Angeles, and there's a team of former AAA and mobile game developers. And if you played their first title, Best Fiends, the one thing you'll immediately notice is attention to detail, the love and the polish they poured into this title. From the level design to the symphonic score to the characters, this game really oozes style and attention. And I think that's the reason why that team looked at Unity Ads and said, like, you know what? We can design an experience that users will love to engage with, and it feels part of the game. So let's take a look at how Unity Ads is used in Best Fiends. So this is a level on Best Fiends, and as you complete the level, in this case you don't get through that, and you go to the level restart menu, there's an opportunity for the user to engage with an ad. That's the spinning wheel of fortune. If you want to, you can tap on that to earn a random reward from the Fiend of Fortune. To spin the wheel, you can tap on the button and exchange 15 seconds of your time with a video trailer of another game. And once you've done watching the video ad, and it only really takes 15 seconds, the game will give you the reward. And the experience is natively part of Best Fiends. And just by tapping X, if you're not interested, you go back to the game, and let's see what the random reward this time is. Okay, we got 8 diamonds. And what's interesting about this experience is that it feels part of the game. It feels part of the story of the game. The characters are the same. So that's what Unity Ads is. It is opt-in, relevant, native, and pays well. And what really pays well for you as a developer is to integrate advertising in a way that fits in your game. So when Seriously invested into making the ad experience a seamless part of their game, they saw a 250% increase on the ad revenue per user and total ad revenue. And but the last line is the kicker. The one thing you want in your game is that people play it, that they don't leave your game. And what opt-in video advertising actually can do for you is it actually help you retain users. Because if you remember, 97% of your players don't pay for your game. And if you hit them with a hard paywall, making the game so challenging that you cannot continue without paying, you can actually lose them. But the alternative is you can ease them in with opt-in video advertising that delivers rewards that are meaningful for the user. What Seriously saw by using this advertising is that they saw an increase in the session length, that is people playing for longer, and an increase in the number of sessions people play per day after introducing native video advertising. And some people are concerned that because you're promoting other people's games, maybe your users leave. But Seriously saw no decrease in user retention whatsoever. On contrary, people played more because they could continue playing the game they love, but because you gave them more virtual items to spend in the game. And what we believe, but we haven't had the data yet, is that because you're helping people to learn how to gain and spend virtual items, you're actually going to be converting a little bit more of them into payers, which will help you directly to continue fund your development of your next game. And talking about money, Crossy Road, who we announced at GDC, having earned $3 million with Unity Ads and iOS alone, is still going strong. I would love to give you new numbers, but they're confidential. But needless to say, this game's done incredibly well with video advertising, and it's a shining example of what a two-person indie studio can do when they focus on retention and great gameplay, and then choose the appropriate method for monetization. Now, Crossy Road and Best Fiends are not the only games that use Unity Ads. We see a lot of games in top fields charts every week using Unity Ads, and more are joining the fold. In fact, today, there are over 10,000 live games using Unity ads in the iOS and Android app stores. And because of that, our focus has been to make it as easy as possible for you to start using advertising if you so wish. So in Unity 5.2, we are integrating advertising into the engine, so it is a seamless part of the engine. And if you want to use advertising, you can use it. We're also making a seamless part of the editor so you can create great ad experiences. And for you as a developer, what this means is that there is no longer an SDK. And if the clicker works, yeah. There's no longer an SDK. And that will help you because you know the quality you expect from Unity is there. The ads now just work seamlessly as part of the engine, just as you would expect physics to work if you use advertising. So it's there, it's available if you want to use it. And also our mission is to help you create those type of great ad experiences that you saw in Best Fiends. So by having an editor integration, our task is to help you learn how to make great ads that fit in part of your experience and that respect the user. So in summary, we believe that opt-in advertising delivers you happy users. Happy users means more gameplay, more revenue. And finally, in Unity 5.2, we'll make it as easy as possible and as seamless as possible to use advertising if you so wish. With that, I think the next part is then when you start thinking of monetization, you also want to understand your users. And I really want to introduce John Chang, who's going to talk to you about Unity Analytics, which is really going to help you to understand your audience. So come on stage, John.
Thank you, Jussi. Hi, I'm John Chang. I'm with the Unity Analytics team out of San Francisco. Like Jussi, I'm incredibly honored to be here in front of you. As he mentioned, we too were also in the audience a couple years ago before we joined Unity. And I think what that means is, while it doesn't guarantee you a job, being here today is a good first start. What I'd love to do is actually show you a couple exciting new features that Analytics is going to be coming out with in the very near future. However, before we get started, we'd love to show an exclusive look, a little sneak peek of Unity's own analytics. And what you're seeing here behind me is the actual real-time view that Unity has into the downloads of games built on Unity. Each and every second of every day, over 250 per second are downloaded. By the end of the day, there'll be over 22 million games. This will be across 200 countries, 40 different genres, 21 different platforms. It's truly an incredible feat. And to be clear, this is all due to the hard work, the passion, the creativity that you here in the audience have put forth. And I think that deserves a huge round of applause. No other way to say it, but you're truly in great company. And also, to give you a sense for what these numbers mean from an aggregate perspective, last month alone, there were over 1 million developers who were active on Unity. Those 1 million developers drove games that were downloaded over 750 million times. And just this year alone, those games touched over 1 billion devices. What that says is Unity is not just a vibrant and growing community, but it's one of the most important development communities in the world. What this also means is that Unity has the opportunity to use this footprint to build some pretty cool features that are going to be a competitive advantage for you that nobody else is going to have access to, right? And so at Analytics, what we're doing is building a couple features on top of the core analytics platform that we launched in March. And today, I'd like to show you 2 of those. The first is what we're calling device intelligence. And this is leveraging the power of that footprint to help you make hardware optimization decisions. What you see here is a view into exactly what the macro environment looks like for game developers. Fragmentation obviously is a huge issue in mobile. deciding which OSs to support, deciding what hardware specs to optimize for. There's truly been a lack of data up until now. Previously, we've heard people use Google searches, they use static reports, anecdotal evidence from their friends to make key decisions as to which platforms, how you're going to support them, at what level of sophistication you're going to deploy. In fact, one of the major developers that we work with, when we talked through some of our plans here, told us a story about how they were planning on entering China. And when they weren't able to find any data about China, what they did was actually send people to retail stores in Beijing and Shanghai and ask them, what devices are you selling? What they came back was, there were about 5 devices it sounds like people are selling. Well, what you can do with this product is actually click into China and see that those 5 devices actually only accounted for about 10% of the market. And in fact, if you actually wanted to get critical mass, you needed to support over 45 different devices across 7 different manufacturers, which some of them aren't really prevalent anywhere else, right? And also, how do you understand what the environment's going to look like in 6 months from now when your game comes out? You know, the ability to predict and understand what those trends are what we want to provide you with this tool. To even dive in further, understanding the specific hardware specs of a device, or cutting the market up by geography, by genre, so that you get the most relevant data for your specific game in a way that nobody else has access to. Basically, the days of sending parts of your team to China on a field trip are over. With device intelligence, this will be the first in a series of benchmarking tools that will take advantage of the massive Unity footprint to really unlock intelligence that will help drive more effective development decisions. Now, the second product that I want to introduce around analytics takes more of an inside or introspective look at your data. And what this feature is being called is Unity heat maps. So as you may be familiar with, what heat maps are visualization of event frequency. That's just a fancy way of saying the more an event happens, the more intense of a color that you'll see. And today, what I'd love to do is give you a sneak peek of what that is going to look like within the editor. What you're seeing here is the actual data generated by players as they play your game. Blue is where the players have gone. Yellow are high traffic areas. And red is actually where players are actually dying. So what you can start to understand here is, where's the action actually happening? Who is dying and where? What roads are most traveled? You can actually even see it within gameplay mode itself. And as many of you know, one key tweak within a level can be the difference between a existing game, a nice-to-play game versus a game that's incredibly successful. So both device intelligence and heat maps are going to be built on this core analytics platform that I mentioned previously. This core analytics provides device tracking, engagement, custom events. Thousands are using it already, and I'd love to tell you the story of one. So Ultra Team, who you might have heard of, is a 5-man studio out of Paris. Their first game was a beautiful puzzle game that had 99 different levels. Fun to play, engaging, but they had a real issue with retention. And what's happening was players were quitting too early and they couldn't understand why. They were brand new to analytics, but they implemented Unity Analytics and started to see results almost immediately. The feature that they used was the funnel analyzer. And what you can see here is every bar represents a conversion rate or a completion from the level before it. So what they did is they looked at this graph and looked for steep drop-offs and pinpointed exactly the specific levels that they needed to tweak. They were even able to look at this funnel just for new players within our dashboard and by tweaking those levels, they could see how it affected the behavior of those new players and how they actually responded once changes were made to the game. And responded they did. Across the board, the number of sessions that players played increased. It ultimately drove the user base from just hundreds of users to actually millions. Several tweaks to the game made a huge difference, and using analytics, they knew where to focus. So ultimately, making analytics available to all Unity developers is what we see as our core mission. The team has spent a lot of time thinking about this, really understanding that there are huge trade-offs between development resources and the actual time to implement analytics. So the final feature that I'd like to talk about is something I'm most excited about. And what it is the native integration of analytics into the Unity engine. So let's take a look at what this means to the developer. Just by copying and pasting your development ID into your project settings, you can get access to analytics on a scale that you haven't seen before. You can immediately validate your integration and get your dashboard live and running within a couple hours of processing. We're calling this native integration. It's available today in 5.1. And really, there's no reason why any game built on Unity shouldn't be able to ship with the ability to measure performance and the tools and suite of analytics around it to optimize your performance. So we encourage you to come check out analytics. It's currently in beta and free to the user, but if you sign up today, you'll be grandfathered into the entire suite of products. If you have any questions or would love to learn more, Angelo and Carl will be on the stage later today to walk you through that integration and see if there's anything you missed. With that, we'd love to welcome back John to the stage.
You can give that to Joachim. Yeah, I'll take it. So you see, and John just showed you what we're doing to enable your success as a business. Next up, we're going to dig into solving hard problems. And you've got 3 of the world's best engineers coming up. Joachim Ante, who's right here, and you'll see 2 of his colleagues that are just amazing guys. Are going to take you through the depths of what's coming next from Unity. So our founder, the guy that wrote the first line of code, Joachim Ante.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Made some very big steps in the visual quality that you can achieve. And when we built these rendering features, physically based rendering, real-time GI, deferred renderer, reflections, we made several demos to make sure that what we built is very artist-friendly, easy to use, and works really well in productions. The biggest demo that we created is the Blacksmith demo. And first, I want to show you that to you right now, running in real time. I just really love this demo so much. So this was running real time. Actually, here we have this mode where we can scrub through. It makes this funky sound when you scrub, and you can see when we look at it here, for example, we can pause it. We can look a bit around. You see the particles, and the vegetation is still updating while it's paused. And all of this is running real time. This demo, it's also very scalable. We can run this on a laptop. You don't need the highest end PC to run it. And most importantly, it's a huge step in visual fidelity. And also, we're making this demo available now. You can go to our website. You can go to our website and you can download it. You can install it, you can run it on your own PC and experience it on your own. Now, it's really fantastic, this demo, because it really shows the power that we have in Unity 5. But what's more important is that you can create your own games at a similar visual fidelity as what we have done in this project. And so a lot of you have asked us if we can't take this project and release it to you so that you can learn from it. And so for this reason, we've spent some time taking this project, splitting it into smaller pieces, extracting all these different technologies and shaders and effects that we have built into it, extracting it into small packages that are easy to understand, easy to learn from. And I'm happy to announce that today we are also making the project folders that we have extracted available on the Asset Store. You can go to the Asset Store, you can install them. You can install them, you can mess with them, you can look at all the shaders that we have created, you can look at all the scripts that we have made, all the tools that we have built, everything is in there. Now, I want to give you an overview of some of these things that we have created. The first one is the environment project. So first, I will run this in play mode, and then we'll take a bit of a look around. So you can see here, this demo is very much about atmospheric scattering. You can see these beautiful mountains in the distance, the atmospheric scattering. When you look at the sun that is setting down, it gives the mountains this red hue. On the other hand, on the far side, that is not hit directly by the sun, there's a blue hue that is created via atmospheric scattering. And you can see how this also changes based on where you are with the camera. It's affected by occlusion. And especially when we animate the light direction, we can see the beautiful effect that this has. Everything changes real time. So when we move the light, we can see here how the real-time GI and the atmospheric scattering really has a huge effect on the mountains and the colorization of it. And that is just what makes this whole demo just look so beautiful. So that's one part, the atmospheric scattering, Rayleigh-Mies scattering, and several other low atmospheric scattering effects. Now, the second effect I want to show you is the grass. We spent a lot of work making really good shaders for the grass. You can see how they really well fit into the environment. They blend nicely into the terrain. Also, notice how the grass looks very soft. It's very nicely animated, looks very soft. Also, when we change the light, you can immediately see the shadows update, the real-time GI updates, and everything just looks completely in place. It looks like it's a big part of the scene, and that's because the lighting fits all together in this scene. And then, of course, in this demo, we also have a lot of physically based assets. We have the rocks, we have these buildings over here, we have the bridge, and it's just a couple great assets that are really good to learn from how to create some really, really good artwork that works well in all lighting conditions with physically based rendering. So that's the first project. The second one I want to show you is all about the characters. In this one, the focus is very much on first of all, on the hair of the character. We can see here, we have a custom hair shader. We have a physically based, specialized lighting model for the hair. It's anisotropic lighting. There's flow maps and all kinds of controls to define the comb of the hair that makes it just look very natural. Also, we use blend shapes to do the facial animation of the character. And from these blend shapes, we also drive some wrinkle maps that give it this extra kind of detail in the face. Also, when we zoom out, we can see there's metallic surfaces on the character, there's leather, so again, really good use of physically based rendering assets to make this look really, really nice. And another part is the fully simulated cloth. So this is real-time simulated cloth on this character that moves as he moves his legs, and it can that way adapt to any situation that you might create. And the last part is the shadows. In the Blacksmith demo, we have a very long shadow distance with 2 kilometers. But when you want to have shadows from the character, like let's say a nose casting a shadow over the character, you want to have a custom, unique shadow map just for that character so that the character in focus has that extra level of quality on the shadows. So it's very detailed. So we added support for unique shadow maps that are especially useful for characters. And so all of these projects, they're available on the asset store. You can download them, play with them, do what you want with them. You can use the assets, use the shaders, use the artwork in your project, learn from it, and just download them now. It's pretty amazing. It's a super high quality project. And now, I would like to welcome Lucas Meijer, who is going to talk a little more about the new features in Unity 5.1.
Good morning, everyone. So I get to talk about some of the things that shipped in Unity 5.1, and I could actually, I could just be here for hours. I could talk about, new platform support for Tizen, or the SketchUp importer, or like all the polish that the animation window has. But I only have maybe 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a new feature that we built in Unity 5.1. We built it from scratch, and it's a network and multiplayer feature that makes it easy for you guys to turn a normal kind of game into a multiplayer game. And the way I'm going to do that is by starting with a short demo. So I have a cartoony little scene right here, like that. And I have a tank prefab that I'm going to drag into the scene. I'm going to hit play and drive around for a little bit. So, if you bear with me and exercise a little bit of imagination, you could say that this is a pretty fun single-player game. And I'm gonna go through the steps that you would need to do to turn this single-player thing into a multiplayer thing. So I'm gonna select my tank here, and the first thing I'll do is I'll add a component. I'll add the network transform component. So the network transform component, its job is to synchronize position and rotation of this tank across all the different connected clients. It's configured to send 9 position updates per second. Now I'm going to up that a little bit, like that. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new game object, which I'm going to call Network Manager. I'm going to add the Network Manager component to that. Okay, so this Network Manager component, it's a very high-level component. The primary purpose of it is just to allow you to get started quickly. And one of the things that you can tell it is which prefab to use for each of the connected players. So I'm going to add my tank prefab there, and I'm going to remove this tank that I put here in the beginning. And then we're going to see, if this is going to work. So the way this works, I'm going to hit play mode in the editor. I'm going to start the editor as a host, and then I'm going to connect with my client here. And I can drive around. So it's not so bad for 2 minutes. It connects. You can drive around, but if you look closely, there's also a bunch of problems. I'm controlling the player window in the right bottom over there. And if you pay close attention, you'll see that both tanks are actually responding to my keyboard inputs. So that's not good. And if you look at the tank that I'm driving around in the game view of the editor, you can see that the position updates are pretty good, but that the rotation updates are actually all wrong. Like the tank's pretty much driving sideways like that. Okay, so let's see what we would have to do to solve these problems. Let's start with the input problem. So why do we actually have this problem of input? It's because 60 seconds ago, this was still a single-player game. And it had the tank had a script that, as in all single-player games, it listens to the inputs, and then it applies the input to the tank. But what we want to do for the multiplayer version is that we're going to trust the networking system to deal with the position and rotation updates for all the other tanks. And we want the tank movement script to only process the input for the tank that we're actually controlling. So let's see how we do that. I'm going to take this tank movement script. I'm going to make it derive from network behavior. And then I happen to already know where the input code is. It's these 2 lines. And what I'm going to say is just, if we are not the local player, then we're not going to do anything. So we're only going to process this input here if we are the local player. I'm going to do the same thing down here because there's a bit more code that also deals with input here. Okay, so that's input. What was the other problem again? It was the rotation of the tank. So I mentioned before that it's the responsibility of this network transform component to deal with rotation and position updates. So if they're broken, probably that guy is also to blame. So let's take a look. The network transform component here, it has a rotation section. And it has an interpolate rotation setting that for our game is way too low at 1. So I'm just going to put that to 10. And while I'm here, I'm also going to make a small optimization. I'm going to promise this system that our tank will only ever rotate around the y-axis. I know that because it's kind of a top-down game, and that allows the networking system to save some bandwidth because it doesn't have to send all these zero rotation information all the time. All right, let's see if that actually worked. I'm going to run my server in the editor again and connect. Move out of the way. I'll be driving. And what do you know? Only 1 tank responds to my input, and the rotation updates of the tank are actually pretty good. Okay, so that's starting to look like something. Let me see what happens if I try to add a modest amount of gameplay here. And since I'm not big into tanks shooting other things, I actually made a very hippie tank color script that makes the tank, when you drive into a trigger, it comes up with a random color and it applies that color to the tank. So let me go back to my tank, and I'm going to add this tank color script over here. And now the only thing that I still have to do is I have to add a trigger to the scene, and I'm going to just use this building over here. Oh, look, I already had one. Let me remove that. I'm going to add a box collider here. I'm going to make that a trigger, and I'm going to edit it. Notice that we now have these sexy little like collider modification thingies, gizmos. Do you call them gizmos? I don't really know. But it makes it easy to place the box collider. Let's do another multiplayer build of that and see what the effect of this script is on the game. So we're going to run this guy again. And we're going to run it here. And I'm going to drive this tank into the building and see what happens. What do you know? It kind of works. I drive into the building, and I get to assign a random color. But of course, this tank color script is attached to the tank on both clients. And on both clients, you hit the building. And then on both clients, you get to assign a random color, but not necessarily the same one. So there's two things that you could do about this. The first thing that you could do is that you do absolutely nothing, which is my preference. It's usually my preference of choice, but also in this case, because you would be surprised at how much stuff you can get away with in terms of showing different players different versions of the world while they're all thinking about the same thing. Like you'd think like, oh no, like it has to be exact and everything, but once you start developing a multiplayer game, you realize that it's actually very hard to make it exactly the same for everyone. And then when you try it, it turns out in many cases it really doesn't matter. But that would make for a boring demo, so I'm going to synchronize the colors anyway. So let's go to this tank color script again. I'm going to make this guy derive from network behavior. And I'm going to use a feature from the networking system that's called syncvar. So what syncvar does is it makes it the responsibility of the networking system to synchronize the value of this mColor variable across all the different clients. And it has an additional feature where you can specify a hook function. So I could say hook is apply color. And what that does is that whenever a syncvar update comes in over the network, this apply color function over here gets called. And the way that these syncvars work is they always get sent from the server to the clients. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the server authoritative when it comes to whether or not you actually hit the building and also which color you're going to get. So that means that I'm going to add a check here that if I'm not the server, I'm not going to do anything. And if I am the server, I'm going to set the mColor here. And the action of setting this mColor, it will trigger the syncvar update to all the clients. And if we are a client, we go into the return here, and we don't do anything because we trust the networking system, we trust the server in the network to send us the syncvar update, and the syncvar update will call this apply color here, which will actually change the color of the tank. All right, so let's see if that actually worked. Always a surprise. I'm going to start this as a server and connect this guy and run into the building. What do you know? The server dictates whether or not we hit the building, and it sends out the new random color to both clients, and it works. Awesome. All right, so that's, where's my clicker? So that's, a short glimpse of how you would, how you can, in 10 minutes take a single player thing into a multiplayer thing. And as I did this, you've seen me use very high-level components like the transform component and the network manager and high-level APIs. And that's really great because these high-level components, they allow you to get started very quickly. They allow you to find the fun in your game before you have to spend weeks of doing network programming. For instance, I would very quickly find out that this tech game isn't any fun because you drive into buildings and you change colors and so fun, and I throw the whole thing away, and that saves me, it would have been sad if I would have spent 2 weeks doing network programming before I had to figure that out. However, when your project gets further into the production, often these very high-level systems, they don't do exactly the thing you want. At some point, you reach a point where you need some more customization or, some optimization. And what you can do is you can one of the things that I really like about the design of the networking system is that these high-level components that we have, they're actually implemented in C#, and we'll have the source code available for them, and they are implemented on top of a very low-level networking API. And this low-level networking API is also public. So that means you can start with the high-level stuff, get started quickly, but once you reach a point where you want to, make an optimization yourself, like the thing I did with the rotation, you can actually get your hands dirty and can get all the way down to the bits that we send over the sockets and talk to this low-level API, which deals with, all this stuff like multiple channels with different reliability guarantees and ordered and not ordered, all that stuff. That's great that it's available when you need it, but that's also great to not have to worry about when you don't. If you want to learn more about the networking system and not only the tools that I've shown, but also the services that we provide with it, the matchmaking service to help your players find other people to play with, and the relay server that helps players behind firewalls connect to other players. There's 2 talks tomorrow. One is by Eric Yule. I think it's in this room. He'll go much more in depth into the networking system. And there's a talk by Tyler Lagrange. I hope I say that right, Tyler. And he has been developing a game for a long time now while we have been developing the networking system. So it's a project that has really dog-fooded the networking system, and it's a post-mortem talk. So I'm sure, if you want to learn more about networking, that would be a great place to learn about some more stories in the wild. All right, so that's networking. The other feature, highlight feature that I want to talk about in Unity 5.1 is VR. Now, VR, virtual reality, is a completely new way for people to interact with a computer, for people to interact with a simulation. And with this complete new thing also come a lot of challenges. Not the least is that everything we did on a desktop computer no longer works. On a desktop computer, having a button is a pretty reasonable thing to do, but in VR, is a button really, the most reasonable way to present the choice to a user? And I won't even begin about, using a keyboard and mouse. So I'm convinced that if we were able to look forward in time 5 years from now, and if we were to see what kind of experiences we have with VR and what kind of interaction models these have, I'm convinced that these things still have to be invented. And I'm convinced that they still have to be invented by you. And the only way I know how to do that is to just try and try and try many different things and see what sticks. And that happens to be exactly the kind of thing that Unity is really good at. So starting with Unity 5.1, there is out-of-the-box support for VR, for the Oculus and the Gear VR. And we will continue to work to make sure that Unity is the best development environment to experiment with VR. The best development environment to fail fast. And the best development environment to just, to try hundreds and hundreds of things and, help you on this search to find the kinds of experiences and the kind of interaction models that work with VR. So, that's all nice. Unity 5.1, it comes with a whole lot of nice new features. But when we go to conferences like this, and when we walk around the show floor and talk to all you guys, what we hear a lot is, well, it's nice that you go on stage and talk about all these features that shipped in 5.1, but we really need to have some more information about what's coming next. What's coming in 3 months, what's coming in 6 months. What are you guys doing with this feature? Like these nested prefabs, are you guys ever going to do them, or what? Like what is going on with that? And I'm happy to say that going forward, we will be sharing our internal roadmap with all of you. In fact, I'm happy to say that it's live today at this URL. And at this URL, you will find what we have scheduled for Unity 5.2, what we have scheduled for Unity 5.3, for 5.4 and beyond. And it will also list different confidence levels. Like some of the features, we're going to be pretty confident that, that we'll be able to ship them in a certain release. But there's also features that maybe we're not quite sure of, or maybe we showed them to some of you and you told us that we made completely the wrong thing and that we should try again. So those ones would be orange. You'll be surprised at how often that happens. For instance, with the nested prefabs. We actually had a version once, and we showed it to a group of people, and they told us we were all wrong, and we had to start all over. So we are unable to precisely predict the future. We would be lying if we'd say that everything on here is going to happen exactly the way we predict it. But what we can do, and the next best thing that we can do, is that we can share with you what we know so that you guys can make more informed decisions for your business going forward. I hope they actually didn't put it up yet and that people will still listen to me for the rest of the talk, but I think it's actually live already. The other thing that we hear a lot when we meet with our customers is that, I'll talk to someone and they say, Lucas, would you please, knock it off with these shiny features that you're presenting? Like, I have this bug, and it's really, it's really messing up my project. Like, why don't you just fix that instead? And to talk about bugs and quality in our product and what we've done about them and what we'll do going forward, I would like to ask to the stage Thomas Peterson, who runs all of our QA departments at Unity, to talk about what we've been doing and will be doing going forward.
Thank you, Lucas. Morning, everyone. So we see all this innovation, we see all these new features, but if we don't deliver those features with a high level of quality, they're not really much use to you. So I want to talk a bit about what we're doing, both to prevent those bugs from happening, and when they do happen, what we are going to do about fixing them. Because we want to be the highest quality engine that you can have, no matter what. But let's start with a look on code base, because it's a beast. We have about 1.5 million lines of code, and it's pretty evenly split between the platforms, the editor, and the runtime. And on that code base, we have 4,500 commits to the main line every single month. And that's done with over 200 engineers. Now, if you know, developers producing code, they also produce bugs. So the trick here is to prevent them from getting out, and if they do get out, how do we fix them fast enough? And to do that, we have a series of QA gates that each of these have to pass through. So on every one of these change sets that goes in, they have to get through a code review from the peers. So checking that standards are up to date, that they have the correct test written, and making sure that it fits the architecture. But it also has to go through a build verification test. And that's just the start of the automation pass, with over 16,000 tests running on 14 devices. And if any of those fail, it's not getting in. So that's a simple start of it. Once it's in the code base, we have a lot of manual testing as well. We have over 60 QA engineers touching that code base once it's in. And they do a verification of all the bugs that are in. They do a smoke test on it. And then we have several test passes on both manual tests, scripted test, and exploratory destructive testing. So it goes through a lot of hands in order to try to prevent it. But on the automation side, we do more than that, because we have a very large suite of automation that we are maintaining and developing all the time. So we have 4,500 unit tests just to cover the C++ in the beginning. And then we have about 1,600 runtime tests. And these tests are run on all 22 platforms we have in our build farm. They enable us to actually make all these platforms and make it consistent, so you can press a button in the editor and it works. We also have 1,500 integration tests, They communicate with the editor. We run them all editor versions, Windows, Mac, 32, 64-bit. And they ensure that the editor is running and functioning well. Then we have about 400 graphics tests. We'll run them on all the 22 platforms as well. So that's like we have a reference image for each of all the platforms. We run the test, and if there is a difference, there's a bug. So every time that happens, someone has to investigate and see why did this happen. And then we have about 300 asset import tests. So we test that everything from the ecosystem, like Meijer, when we import that into Unity, that works. And we do that on all the editor platforms as well. And finally, we have a suite of performance tests. So we can compare a given version to another version. We run this on 8 platforms. So if there is a regression in performance in one of these change sets, we consider that a bug as well. So with all this automation, we run at least 50,000 tests once a day, sometimes several times a day, and we do this on each of the versions that we are actively supporting. So it's over 500,000 tests every day that's running. So, and that's fine. We do that internally. That's good. But we do more with that because we share our test suites with the partners in the ecosystem. So Qualcomm, Intel, Sony, ARM, Oculus, many more, they take our test suites, they run them in their labs. So when they are making new chipset, a new driver, a device, operating systems, they run our automation in their labs to ensure that your games is not going to fail when they ship it. So we're empowering the entire ecosystem to make sure that Unity games are functioning at the best. So that's solving a very hard problem for all of you. And that's good, all the automation that we have there. So when we go out and we ask you, what should we do, what should we focus on, like Lucas said, you pretty much say this. You have chosen Unity because it solves your problems. So you don't want to have bugs while you're making your games with it. So you want bug fixes, you want all of them, and you want them now. Now, we do need some way to prioritize, and thus we ask you to help us with it. Because if you get some symptom of a bug and you Google it, then you will most likely find the bug on the issue tracker unity3d.com. And if you do that, then please go in and vote for it, because we use it to prioritize which bugs are the most important for you guys. We have about we have about half of all the bugs, those that are not having privacy concerns for you guys when you submit them, available out there in the public. So please go in and vote for it. So we have prevented some bugs. We have the votes from you guys, which are important. So how do we fix them? Now, last year, we created a team called the Sustained Engineering Team. That team is made in order. Sustained engineering is you sustain the engineering effort on a version that you have shipped. And we created that last year after hearing all this about bugs from you guys. And we started out in May, slowly, getting to know the pace and how to get this running. And then over the year, we have increased the pace of fixing those bugs. So at the highest point, we were up to having 8 patches in 1 month with over 300 bugs fixed. And we ship those weekly. Now, these are bugs that are blocking you. That's the ones we are prioritizing most highly. And we are now down to being able to go from we had months where before we could ship a fix for a bug. We're now down to sometimes being able to ship this bug fix in 2 days. And that's with all of the automation, everything, all the QA running on that. So we've optimized this entire chain. And we want to do more with that. We're increasing the size of the team. We're increasing the pace that we want to do, and we're increasing the versions that we're supporting. So during this year, we have been able to ship patches on 5 different versions: 4.3, 4.5, 4.6, 5.0, and 5.1. And we have shipped 73 patches, releases. Some of those are editor updates. You'll get them automatically. Some you will have to come and see. You'll get from our site. And through that, we've been able to ship over 1,500 fixes fast, on a fast cycle. So that's something we want to do faster. We want to do it more. We want to have be able to unblock you even faster than we have already done today. So we're hiring. If anyone knows good people, please send them my way. And I have a talk later today at 1:30 about how we do this and why it's important for you to be on the patch train in your development. So you can come and see that later today. All right, that's all for the tech talks today. Thank you.
Thanks. So, Lucas and Joachim and Thomas, that's really impressive. Those are the guys that are solving hard problems. And I know every time I come up after they speak, I'm really in awe at what work they do, the incredible energy and the incredible talent that goes into our product. And I know, I was once a developer publisher, and I know that if I were in your seat looking up at this stuff, I'd be proud to have guys like that on my engineering team, and they are on your engineering team. Now, what I'd like to do next is introduce someone very special, someone very interesting, someone that's been running a small game developer for the last 6 years. She's the CEO of a totally cool company making an incredibly cool game, one I talked about briefly earlier today. Her name is Marina Hallikainen, and she makes a spectacular game that really changes the landscape for city builders. She builds city skylines, and what impresses me the most about her is this. So many developers have got a successful game. You know what they want to do next? Forget about it, move on to the next one. They want to, get that next thing out there. And what they can often forget, we all often forget, is investing in the core to make it better is often, where beauty comes from. And I can assure you, that's exactly where she's going. Marina, let me take you to the podium and take it away.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, my name is Marina Hallikainen and I'm the CEO of Colossal Order. And I'm just super excited to be here and talk about our take on a classic city builder, City Skylines. So let's have a look first on the trailer. Okay, a couple of words about the company behind the game. So Colossal Order, we're located in Tampere, Finland, and we founded the studio back in 2009. So 6 years ago, we started with 5 people, and we're still a small team, but now we're 14 skilled individuals. And it's really all about the team. It's about our passion for games. It's about what we want to do, and that's kind of what Colossal Order is all about. And there's actually a story behind it, because we started the company back in 2009 having the idea that one day we will make a city builder. And that day has come alive this year when the game was released. But still, a couple of words about the past. So we have now released 3 titles. All of those are simulation games, because that's really what we are good at and what we want to do. And as we did have the dream of making City Builder, with a small team we had back in 2009, we were scared to go and attempt such a big game. So we made Cities in Motion, which is a mass transit simulator, and we actually used our in-house technology to do that. And then we made a sequel to Cities in Motion, and City Skylines both have been developed with Unity. And all of our games have been published by Paradox Interactive, Swedish publisher, and it is really something that we feel that having a publisher is so that they handle the things they are good at, and we handle the things we are good at. So basically, it is just about allocating resources and thinking what we are good at, we want to focus on. And it is really something that I would like to talk about also about the design process we have at Colossal Order. So in the team, I already mentioned the importance of the team. So it is really important that everybody has a voice. Everybody gets to pitch in the design process, especially in the early stages. So we actually do have a wiki page, internal wiki page, that everybody gets to suggest new game ideas. One of them, of course, was the city builder. Another one, my idea about making, because I love horses, so I really want to make a stable manager simulation game. I think that would be huge in Germany. But the problem is that nobody in the team really shares my vision or idea of this game yet. But let's see, in a couple of years, maybe I'll force them to do this. But it's really important that everybody gets to have the voice. And this continues to the prototyping phase. So quick prototyping, where it is really important to make sure that the design is fun and it is working. And this is something we try to do before production, to make sure that all the design works as we meant it to. And at this point, everybody's input is still completely welcome. There is always something to think about with the production, because when entering to the production, there's not so much room for the prototyping, and it's not so easy to implement new ideas at this point. But this actually, the whole process we have, this is from the early design, prototyping to production. This is what we do beginning of the entire project, but as well as for each individual features. So we try to make sure that we allocate enough time and we have time buffers in the schedule to make sure that if we didn't nail a design of certain feature in the early stage, we still have time to do that while in production. And I have a very concrete example of this, because the team was one day wondering about, like, how do we make it so that in City Skylines the players get to see feedback, and they were talking about newspaper. And I happened to walk by and I was like, newspaper, like that's not modern at all. Come on, guys. How about we add some kind of social feature? Like, think about Twitter, for example. And it kind of was the beginning of the blue bird you can see up there in the screenshot as well. This has been one of the more controversial features, and in a sense that before we released the game, people seem to really hate the blue bird, and I'm pretty sure the team doesn't want to hear my opinions ever again. While they're actually working in the game. But this is just a quick example of how we work. It's when somebody has an idea and we feel it's a good idea, we really want to take advantage of that. And this is just basically about scheduling and, of course, the fast prototyping that we can do with Unity. We have limited resources. So still about the prototyping, if you think about it, that we need to be able to make also production quality very quickly. And that's always when we prototype, we aim to reach production quality whenever possible. And then, of course, all features, when they are in, we start to polish them as much as we have time to, basically. How we work in the company is also so that we have one designer. So City Skylines was actually made with one designer and a programmer pair, so that the designer doesn't necessarily have coding experience, and they are not limited by the technical aspects of making games. So they can really think outside the box, and then it's the programmer's job to think how to make this design work. And this is something that I feel is very important because it kind of pushes the limits we have. So it is something that you can see in City Skylines, for example, and I'll come a little bit later to that as well. So about technology. Cities in Motion, the first one was made with in-house technology, and this was something that we had actually, or one of our original team members had been working on for 6 years before we ever started the company, which is a huge amount of work, maintaining your own technology. And after Cities in Motion, we realized that we had the need to make bigger and better games. And it was completely impossible to sustain our in-house technology without huge resources, which we didn't have. So we had to opt out for our third-party technology. Unity engine became reality at that point for us because we were thinking about which technology to use. Unity was affordable. From business side, this is important to me, especially. And some of the team members had already experience using Unity, and they liked it, so we definitely wanted to give it a go. We noticed that it was extremely fast to adopt, and the learning curve is really soft because everybody in the team were able to start using Unity pretty much immediately. And I noticed that the iteration time greatly improved, which was very, very important, because if you think about having the team, we had 7 people at this point in the company. Cities in Motion 2 was developed in 1.5 years, which is a very, very short time for a big simulation game as Cities in Motion 2 was. Then we get to City Skylines. This, as I have mentioned now probably many times, that we really wanted to make a city builder, and City Skylines is really the dream project for us. And we basically increased the number of team members. So when we started City Skylines, we had 9 team members, and we basically doubled the programming resource by having 2 programmers in this project. And of course, if you think about the team, you have to realize that team of 9 basically means 8 developers and me. So we still managed to make this game in 1.5 years, which is really, really amazing. And it is really something that we are very, very happy with using Unity. If you think about City Skylines, it was released 10th of March this year, and it pretty much blew us away by how people found the game. It really just went better than we ever expected. We knew that we had a good game in our hands, but to actually have people embrace it so quickly. And just to give a couple of examples, the game sold 250,000 copies in the first 24 hours. We basically broke all of our publishers' records in the fastest-selling game of theirs. Over 1 million copies sold now. But what is even more important to me personally is that the modding community embraced City Skylines immediately. After the first 24 hours, we had over 3,000 items in the Steam Workshop, and over 45,000 items today, which is absolutely fantastic. Then moving on to the goals we had with City Skylines. So what we really first and foremost wanted to do would have big maps for the players to play in, the sandbox gameplay, just to make it so that you have all the room to create your own cities. And this is always a trade-off between performance and memory, right? So we had to get really creative on how to make this all happen. And as Unity has a lot of great features, we wanted to kind of think really outside the box, and we added a couple of features like the water system. We have a dynamic water system in the game, and we couldn't use the physics engine in the scale we wanted, which was already in Unity, so we wrote something on top of that. So it's also something that you kind of can build upon the engine as well. Of course, I don't really recommend our programmers, the two programmers, to do this too much because it actually takes a lot of time. So you have to be careful when you're planning these things. But it's like, don't be afraid to go out there. And then another important thing for us in terms of what we wanted to achieve with City Skylines was to have a very deep simulation. And we actually have all the citizens, vehicles, everything you see moving in the screen, those are all individually simulated. And this is really something that creates realistic traffic, it creates realistic flows. And a citizen you see there, they actually have a name, they have an age, they have a workplace, they live somewhere in the city. All of this is simulated. They are born there and eventually they die. So it is very much about those citizens in the city. And this is all possible with managed threads, and no native code was used for this simulation. Then, of course, as John already mentioned earlier, sorry, did I manage to? Oh yeah, sorry. So visually appealing games. We want to make beautiful games. And it is really something that at Colossal Order we haven't been able to have the visuals always to the top priority thinking about our earlier games. But with City Skylines we really just put effort to following artistic guidelines, to the consistency to make a beautiful set of buildings, beautiful set of visuals. And we are actually really happy with the result. I hope you like what you see. And all shaders were written using the Unity surface shaders. Then my favorite topic, the modding support. It is something that we learned very much with Cities in Motion, the first one, when we had used our own technology. And people took the game and they basically broke it to pieces. They just started to do their own thing with it, and we had no idea what was happening, pretty much. The only thing I realized is that this is fantastic, this is great. People really embracing our game and making something of their own with it. And it was really, really great to see, and we wanted to support this in the future games as well. With Cities in Motion 2, unfortunately, we failed on this because we didn't realize how we could make it easy for the modders to mod a game made with Unity. So we put a lot of effort to making modding tools for City Skylines. So what we have is we have in-game map editor, so the players can actually create their own landscapes and play on their own creation to start their own city in a landscape they want. We also have an in-game asset editor. So with the asset editor, people have been creating amazing looking parks, intersections. They can take road pieces and create something of their own. And this has been definitely one of the more popular type of items that we have in the Steam workshop. Then I was thinking that there's the easiness for the artists with Unity, because they can import their creations there in the editor side, but this is not something that the player has. So what we made is a custom assets importing. And with this one, it is possible so that the players can actually import their own creations to the game, and then they can see them in the city. So in theory, it is possible for them to actually create visuals of their own. Of course, this would take a lot of time for them to do, but it is something that you could make an entire new theme for the game. And there was some native code used in this. And then the last modding tool, which is very much about programming, so this is something that I am not too familiar with, but the modding API. And it is really just, it's a glorified plugin system to make it so that the players can actually tweak gameplay values. They can go into the game and create something of their own in there in terms of the gameplay. And this is really, really amazing to have, and to notice what the modders have done with it is that they have used our modding API, and they have totally gone beyond that. It is really amazing. There's actually a mod where you can take control of an airplane in the city and fly around there. This is totally something we did not anticipate. And then, what is next for Colossal Order? Of course, we want to continue working on City Skylines. It is really something that we want to bring new features to. We want to make big expansions. We will have both paid and free content for the players. And with Unity's help, if you think about the new plans they have, and I'm actually really looking forward to reading that roadmap, we had no idea, for example, in the beginning of the project that there would be a frame debugger and command buffers available for us. So these are the things that we want to embrace and take the game forward with help of Unity. And both of these, as well as the help of the community and the modding, we just really want to prolong the lifetime of the game. So we can keep on working on City Skylines for a long time in the future. Of course, this is not all what we want to do. We have plans to start another game project with the 14 people we have now. It's plenty of people, so we can totally take on another big game. But it's really all about the great ideas. It's about the great idea, having the skilled team, and a really good technology to making a great game. So I hope you will enjoy your time in Unite, and I'm extremely happy to be here. And if you have any questions, come and talk to me later on. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing. What a wonderful thing. Thank you so much, Marina. Wow. Colossal Order is exactly the kind of studio we dreamt of being able to help when we started out. Hey, so it's lovely to be back here in Amsterdam. It's been 3 years since we had Unite Europe here in 2012, and it's just great to see so many of you back here again. There's another kind of anniversary that we're celebrating this year. This June, Unity is 10 years old. That means that Unity 1.0 came out in June of 2005. Those were some heady days. We remember, trying to finish Unity towards that release. What was happening was that at Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, they wanted to feature us in the keynote. So Scott Forstall, who was the head of Mac OS back then, he gave a demo of Unity on stage. And we just managed to lob Unity kind of up there. We managed to get the store server ready. It was a Mac Mini standing in the office. And Nicholas and Joachim, they went to San Francisco to be part of, well, they were not on stage, but in the room. And there were several thousand people at the WWDC seeing this demo. This was before the iPhone, if you remember that time. Strange to think of now. And I stayed back in Copenhagen because I had to be ready to kind of support the store as it would go down from all the traffic that this would generate. Those were kind of the naive ideas we had. And I think we had one sale in the first 24 hours. It was something of a disaster. And then, the little money that we actually managed to generate, it became a trickle of revenue. There was a few people that wanted to maybe support this tiny little company and that saw some promise in Unity. But even this little money that we were generating got stuck in PayPal because of their hair trigger, system figured out we were probably doing credit card fraud. So we were sort of hiding from the landlord because we couldn't pay the rent and that kind of stuff, right? So this is just 10 years ago. It feels like yesterday. But we started really on the kind of same principles as we have now, right? We wanted to democratize game development. We wanted to be a tech company and solve really interesting hard problems. And we had this idea that democratizing game development meant helping people not just make games but be successful. For many years that just meant for us building tools that were productive, useful, robust, supporting the platforms people would care about. But over the years, of course, that had to evolve, right? So we had no idea where we were going. We had no idea we would end up here 10 years later. But we had sort of a vector that we wanted to go across, right? And every year, with your help, we've sort of made decisions on how to further that, and which platforms to support, and which services to provide, which bugs to fix, and all these things. So it's been this incredible road with you guys, and it's still something we're so proud of being part of. As we go back, memory lane, we created a video with sort of the flow of games that's been coming through this community, and well, I'm gonna be teary-eyed when I watch it, so watch it with me if you will. So what we just saw was created by some of these wonderful people. I just want to say thank you to all of these people and all of you. Like this community is really creating some of the best games the game industry is creating, and it's just such an honor to be part of it. You're surrounded by some of the very smartest and very most creative people in the industry here today. So in the next few days, I really hope you enjoy Unite Europe, and there's so much to learn. There's so much community to engage with. There's so many friendships to forge. So basically, I just want to welcome you to Unite Europe 2015, and ask Andy Touch from the community team to come and to sort of tell us a lot about the actual mechanics of Unite and what you can do here. So Andy, and thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and to all the Dutch locals, hallo, dames en heren. Is that okay? I take it that's a good thing. Okay, so my name's Andy Touch. I'm a technical evangelist at Unity. I'm part of the European Tech Field Team. Now, I've probably met some of you in this room at some point. If you have no idea what an evangelist is, don't worry about it. It's fine. Not many people do. So our role is to basically travel around Europe or the world and to help you to make the best games you could possibly make in Unity. So that's through the demo in Unity, both old features, new features, future features. That could be through training, workshops, supporting user groups. I've lost count how many user groups I've been to. And basically just helping you to make awesome, awesome games. This is actually my first ever Unite conference, and I'm a huge honor to actually spend this with you. And weirdly enough, I'm on stage as well. I never thought that would actually happen when I was watching this in a live stream many years ago. I couldn't afford internet. I was watching in Starbucks, stealing their Wi-Fi. So thank you. But probably the best thing, the most honoring thing to be here is a lot of you have made some games I play non-stop, and I basically play all the time. But don't ask me to show you my city Skylines map. The traffic system is terrible. I mean, my map's traffic system is terrible. No, the game's is brilliant. So yeah. So before I begin my section, I'd like to thank you all for attending. It's amazing that we can get all these people in this room. So put your hand up if you're from the Netherlands. Okay, oh wow, okay, it's about 30%. Put your hand up if you're not from the Netherlands, but you're from Europe. Okay, awesome. Put your hand up if you're not from Europe at all and you've traveled from internationally. Wow, okay, that's pretty awesome. So by then, everyone's put their hand up in this room or they're asleep? Brilliant. Someone put their hand up then, yeah, they just woke up. Interesting. So basically, we have a whole range of people, both from local, who've probably ridden a bike here, it's Amsterdam, or probably have flown here, got the train here, or flown internationally to get here, and that's pretty awesome. So next, how many people have been to Unite before? Okay, about 40%. Put your hand up if you've never been to Unite before. Wow, that's pretty awesome. So basically, the point of my bit in the keynote is to tell you what you can do at Unite. Before I get onto that, I just want to basically say that Unite is all about connecting. It's about networking. It's about sharing what you know. It's about meeting the community. It's about uniting with one another. I'm sorry, I'll only make that pun once. And in this room, we have a whole range of different people from the community. So we have CEOs, CTOs, CMOs, lots of Cs, hobbyists, programmers, artists, 2D artists, 3D artists, UI artists, probably some other artists, VR developers, engine developers who make Unity, publishers, journalists. Basically, the point is I could be here for the next hour, but lunch is next, and I don't want to eat into that. But basically, the point is you're all here for basically Unity. You're all here because you're part in the Unity community, whether you write code, whether you don't write code. It doesn't matter whether you're a new developer who's basically making games in your evenings, or you're a developer who wakes up in the morning, uses Unity for 18 hours, and goes to sleep. It doesn't matter. You're all part of the Unity community, and you're all in this room. In fact, here's the cheesy slide. You can actually fit our name in the word community, so yeah. Now, there's about 1,000 people in this room, but online, I think it's that camera. Okay, there's no nodding. So in that camera, it's being live streamed as well, and it's also being recorded for YouTube. So hi to all the people that are on there and watching right now, and probably saying lots of things on Twitch chat or YouTube chat. Hi, it's a shame you can't be here, but basically follow the Unite hashtag, #Unite Europe, and our social media team, who are somewhere, are going to be posting everything that's going to be happening over the conference. And I hope to see you at the next Unite or Unity user group or somewhere. The next thing that I want to highlight before I get into the main bit is you're probably sitting next to someone you already know. So this could be the programmer, your friend, your sister, I don't know, your grandma. You brought your grandma to Unite. It doesn't matter. You're probably sitting next to someone you know, and that's fantastic. You're bringing people into the UT community. But what I want you to do is go away meeting new people. Go out into the exhibition area. Go attend talks. Basically meet new people and sort of make that connections and unite together. So that is the last time, I'm honest. Oh, okay, it's working. We've got a patch release for that. That's how fast they are. So I've been tasked with housekeeping. Now, as I travel a lot for my job, I'm actually very rarely at home. I actually have no idea what housekeeping is. My girlfriend gets pretty annoyed by that. And I thought it was some elaborate joke from the events team that I'll basically be washing the dishes after lunch or sweeping the conference afterwards. But that's not actually the case. Basically, I'm going to be going through about the conference to basically tell you what you can do, where you can go, what you can see, and do that sort of housekeeping. Thankfully, no washing up. So Unite is really, it's compact, but there's lots of stuff here. So we're currently in the keynote room, or where track 1 is going to be for all the talks. I know Yistin Lloyd's giving a talk later on. He's not put his hand up. He's probably rehearsing. OK. And I'm probably standing where their ears right now. So basically, a lot of the talks are going to be in this room. We have, on the other side of the curtain, an exhibition area, where we basically have a whole range of different people there. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. And just outside the building, hopefully it will be nice weather when you're walking outside, we have tracks 2, 3, and 4 as well for all the talks happening there. And those of you who are VR developers, I made a VR version if your eyes couldn't really calibrate to that last map. So yeah, for all the people who don't wear an Oculus Rift 24/7, here's the barrel version. That's actually made in Unity as well. You can tell by the blue color. So talks. So over the next 2 days, we have 4 tracks, more than 50 sessions. Now, every single one of these sessions is going to be recorded and put online, so that's over 50 hours of content. So if you already spent 3 days at Unite, seeing all this Unity stuff, you can then go watch 50 hours more of it later on. We have a whole range of talks. For example, we have sessions from our developers talking about like global illumination, about networking. These are the people that make those systems. So you're basically getting the people who make the systems telling you about the systems. You're basically as good as them pretty much being in your team. Outside of technical sessions, if some of them are a bit above your head, so if you're not a programmer, we have a whole range of other talks. For example, we have a talk from one of our Unity employees who's set up girl game development workshops in Palestine and Dubai, and basically how she's done that. And we also have Valentin from Russia talking about how he made a game for the Russian Winter Olympics. So basically, we not only have technical talks, we also have the talks around the outside, so setting up communities or making games. We also have panel... OK, patch release again. We also have panel discussions. So we have one which is how to be a Unity freelancer. So freelancers who travel the world and basically create Unity projects, how they find work, how they basically translate that work into more work. And they're showing their experiences and designing virtual reality experiences as well. So these are people who make VR games telling you not how to, in Unity, oh, click a button, sweet, I have VR now. How to actually create a game for that, set up the audio and set up the UI. All the people that are giving you speaking, there's a speaker's corner just in the exhibition area. So if you do see a talk, you love the person, you want to hire them, or say hi to them, or play them at Hearthstone, it doesn't matter. There's a speaker's corner, which you can go talk to them afterwards as well. Right, Ask the Experts. So in the exhibition area, we have Ask the Experts area. And these are basically, you can have one-to-one sort of hands-on sessions with our developers. You have to book your slots. I know everyone's going to like book out the one on Mechanim or something. Basically go and talk to them, like, ask them questions, have hands-on, well, not hands-on with developers, but have a one-to-one session with the developers and show them your games. As much as they're going to impart lots of information on you, impart information on them. Show them what you're making, whether it's pre-alpha, pre-alpha, alpha, beta, or released, or on version 5, whatever. We have near there the demo pods, and those basically have hands-on Unity demos. So if you like Dr. Charles Francis's Unity Labs demo, and you want someone to walk through it and show the different features it shows off, then you can go see that. And we also have the Tanks game as well, so you can play local multiplayer or couch multiplayer. And we also have the Blacksmith assets as well. So if you're trying to fight with the Wi-Fi to download the Blacksmith assets, come to the demo pods, and we'll sort of show it for you and give you hands-on. We have the evangelists, field engineers, dev relations, technical support. I'm going to be there myself, so come say hi, and shows your games as well. And at those demo pods, we also have careers, we have business development team, we have all the services people. Basically, we have a whole range of people pretty much answering any question that you want to know from Unity. A huge thank you to our sponsors. We have a whole range of them. All of them are in that back area as well, and they bought their hardware, software. I've just seen Unity running on the new Nintendo 3DS, which is pretty awesome. So yeah. Yeah, that was a clapping moment, yeah. And we have them all there. So they basically have bought all their hardware, software, and developers, experts, and they'll also be giving talks. So there's talks on getting your games onto PlayStation, Windows 10, new Nintendo 3DS, and basically using Substance to create beautiful art to go alongside the Blacksmith assets. So we basically have a whole range of people there. So, and a lot of them are sponsoring various things throughout the couple of days. Now, the most important slide, Wi-Fi, because everyone's probably looking at the roadmap now and overloading it. Oh, no, OK, cool. So we have free open Wi-Fi, that's Unite Europe. And basically, we want you to talk about this event as much as possible. So not only follow hashtag Unite Europe, and a lot of you have already tweeting pictures and things, to see what's going on, but also to share knowledge. There's a lot of people on your Twitter feed who aren't here. Say to them, share knowledge of what you learn here. Don't keep it secret. Share it with everyone else. Go back to a Unity user group and present what you've learned. Meet up with others. Basically use it to basically find out more info and share more info with basically anyone who's not here or anyone's here. Bit more specific stuff. So lunch and coffee. So we have lunch today just after this session. I'm probably eating. No, okay, I'm fine. So that's in the exhibition area at 12. Tomorrow it's at 12:30. We also have coffee breaks throughout the day. So rather than doing one, we know that game devs pretty much process on coffee all day. That's how they sort of stay awake. So basically we have those scattered throughout the day. You have a free Unite Europe shirt as well. So on your name badge, you have a little corner which you can basically exchange in for a free t-shirt. So after Unite, you can go home wearing Unite as well. We also have the after party. So where tracks 3 and 4 in that map, that's where our after party is going to be. Make sure you wear your party wristband, which looks like this. And make sure if you're like me, you need to take ID everywhere you go. Bring that as well if you look under 21 or 25.